All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SA Boxing Talk. I'm here with Colin Nathan, the Director of No Doubt Management. Colin, exciting news coming up here. Sivenathi Nontshinga is obviously getting that rematch against Adrian Curiel, the man that he was knocked out by in Monte Carlo, but it's happening in Mexico. Talk us through that deal.
Yeah, I mean, we already spoke after we got knocked out devastatingly in Monte Carlo. The first question I asked was like, can we do the rematch? And there were inklings saying, yes, we can. So I didn't want to go public about it that we were going to go directly into a rematch. There were a few routes we could have taken. One was to obviously keep busy, get back into contention. But, when we actioned the rematch, I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. I want to make right what was wrong in Monte Carlo. And it's going to be a good test to see how special the special one is. And I believe that he is special, and I believe that he will win. I think he's got the right tools to beat Adrian. He made a mistake, and we need to see if it was a mistake or if Adrian's got his number. But I tend to think that with the right technical adjustments, we can become champion of the world again.
And of course, he is the champion now, so he's got rights to obviously fight in his home country, Curiel. Sivenathi's been there before, and he's done the job in Mexico, so that shouldn't be a problem, should it?
No, not at all. And, we got to win rounds definitively, and we got to go out and stamp our authority and become the fact that we want to become champion of the world again. And I believe that we can do it. We've done it before. We'll do it again. And, Curiel's a good fighter. Can't take anything away from him. He caught us with a horrible punch. It was almost like McGrail on the weekend when he was dominating and he walked onto a shot and got knocked out. It's boxing. It can happen. But obviously, we want a credible world champion for South Africa again. And that's the goal, is that we start this year with a bang. Well, not this year, next year. We're a couple of weeks away from. And we want South Africa to have a credible world champion again. So there's a lot riding on this fight. We know that. We know the severity of it. We know what's at stake. But by the same token, why sit and wait when we can get the direct rematch and go straight into it and see how good we are to become champion of the world again? So I'm very upbeat about this fight. We want to be champion of the world again. Obviously, we're all crushed and devastated. You were there. Yeah. But it happens. It's boxing. That's what makes it such an interesting, beautiful sport, is that you just never know. The thing is that, we got to prepare meticulously for this fight, and I believe we will.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Sivenathi, obviously he is a fighter that Eddie Hearn likes a lot and admires. So, I mean, with that being said, obviously that's why he's getting the opportunity for the rematch. In any case, you would have made a plan, but I mean, this is probably the best solution, right?
I think so, because, had we not opted for the rematch, we would have had to be idle, and we would have had to wait, and that meant a keep busy fight in potentially South Africa. But what kind of keep busy fight, Hayden? Like, do we bring in a guy that he's going to whack out, or do we fight a guy who's a top 10, or do we go straight for the main prize, and that's for the world championship? So logic says, and business acumen says, that we go for the world title because we're capable of winning it. And it's a question of repeat or revenge. A lot of promoters like using that term. Yeah. And does Curiel have his number, or is Sivenathi, did he just make a mistake, get caught in a bad position and get sparked? So there's so many variables in this fight, and that's what makes it so intriguing. But for me, this was the most logical step for him to go straight into the rematch to become champion of the world again.
And say he goes back to Mexico, say he becomes the champion again. Is it like everything's been erased, or is there still that question mark over Sive about, can he take a punch? Like, what was your opinion?
Look, I mean, it can happen to anyone. That's what I'm saying to you. It happens to McGrail, and McGrail is hot property, and I still think he'll be world champion. But it can happen, and it's boxing, and you can't be delusional about it. And if you think it can't happen, it can, and it did to us. So I'm not going to really ponder too much on that. I'm just focused on him becoming a two-time world champion and obviously reclaiming his belts, and that's what we all want here in South Africa. But, after that, we'd have to sit and analyze it. But right now, for me, it was just, getting caught with a crazy shots and getting knocked out. And, you know, we can't dispute the fact that we got caught, we got nailed, and it happened.
Right, and I wanted to talk about Sivenathi's long-term future with matchroom boxing as well. Obviously, they did put faith in him to put the rematch together, and they do have obviously ties in Mexico as well to be able to do that. What's the future between the company and him?
Well, look, obviously we've got a new contract, and it's all subject to us winning, please God. So, and the contract's really even better than the first agreement. So, very, very happy about that. I just need my attorney to go through it, but we're looking very set to sign it, and obviously we're happy because we got the direct shots. But obviously the future holds well, provided he wins, and that's obviously what we're all working towards for February 16th.
All right, and when I'm assuming Sive has already jumped into training camp already and started his preparations.
Yeah, last week, 2 weeks ago already. He's because we knew about this fight a while back, and you know he needed some time off just to recover. It was just one shot, so it wasn't physically draining or damaging. He just got knocked out with one shot. There was no concussion, thank God. So literally he took 5 weeks off and he was back at it again. No sparring yet, but he's back training.
I know this is probably a question for Sive, but you'd also know, just being so close to him as well. Did he have the? I'll get my camera back up very soon. Did he have a sort of a downwards pattern? Did he go down after the loss? How did he take it?
Look, I think all of us took it hard, Hayden. I mean, you were very close to the camp, and it's like somebody had died. It's just horrible. But I've said it to you before, and I'm going to say it to you again. These are the highs and the lows of boxing. The highs are incredible, and the lows are just fucking awful. So, you got to process the loss. We processed the loss, and we accept it. I mean, there's no disputing what happened. And now it's just a question. Now is like, how will we come back mentally? And I think Sive is a very strong kid. I think he showed that against Flores. And, most boxers are not delusional. They know that it can happen, and it happened. So now it's a question of understanding what happened, which we do, rebuilding off of the mistake, learning from it, and coming back and reversing the score on the rematch. And that's becoming champion of the world again.
100%. I guess that's what a mark of any champion, as you say, is like, it's not about how hard you get, it's about how you come back and perform. And we'll see that and learn about Sive more in this fight than we would have from the previous fight. Colin, I want to jump over to another fight that's been whispered around, and I know there's no confirmation yet on the actual dates, but it's been on social media, and there's been talks of it on Lerato Dlamini's social media pages about a potential rematch against the Japanese fighter Kameda. Is that on the cards?
It's definitely on the cards. We're in deep discussions at the moment with Kameda Promotions. Everything looks good. There's just one or two things that we're just waiting for from an administration perspective. But I'm quite comfortable doing the rematch, and I'm quite comfortable doing the rematch in Japan. But before we announce anything, I just need to take care of one or two things administratively, and hopefully they will be over the line in the next couple of weeks or next few weeks. Lopez is going up against Daobi on the 3rd of March or 2nd of March in Japan. So depending on how that goes, we'll have some sort of concrete answers in the next few weeks with regards to that contest and the rematch. But we are in deep discussions at the moment. But yeah, I feel that Lerato beats him again if that fight ever happens.
Here's a thought of mine, right? And obviously, if Lerato does get the IBF position to fight for the world title after a bit, and beats the champion Lopez, we could potentially be seeing Monster versus Dlamini in the next couple of years. I mean, is that something that's been on your mind?
Not until you brought it up. I don't really look at it like that. I look at it one fight at a time, and I think it'd be premature for me to start speculating that, we could eventually be in the ring with him. If it happens and we get off at the fight, obviously, I mean, Monster's pound for pound one of the top 3 fighters in the world right now. So you can't turn that kind of opportunity and fight down. But I think first things first, I'm very focused on steering Lerato to a world title shot in 2024. And that's why I'm saying to you, I just need to wait administratively for one or two things. But the rematch is looking likely. Been in many discussions with Kamida and the Japanese party. So that's looking likely. But, right now it's just focusing on what happens on March 2nd or 3rd with the mandatory position with Lopez. And then, obviously I'll have a direct path on how we're going to move this. But for the rematch, it is looking very likely.
All right, fantastic. Let's move over to the prospects. Again, we discuss this quite often, but it's important just to keep people updated. Let's start with Ishmael. Obviously, didn't get his opportunity. After the interview with Larry Weinstein, he obviously got into detail about how he wants to take action. What's happening for him next year?
Yeah, I mean, that situation was just a fucking disgrace. He had a heartbroken kid and a kid who just didn't even communicate with anyone, not the matchmaker, the promoter, the manager, nothing. I think the manager was down in Durban for another event. So, there's also administrative issues with Boxing South Africa, but I'm not letting it go. So I'm going to let everyone enjoy their Christmas and their festives. But one of the first things on my agenda is to write an official complaint to BSA. I want some sort of punishment taken towards the manager and the fighter. You can't simply do that, Hayden. You sign a contract. We adults, we're not children, and you got to honor contracts. And if you can't fulfill your end of the contract, at least communicate. So they can say what they like. They can say his leg fell off, but the reality is the smoking gun is there was no communication. So I'm not going to let that one go. I do think Ishmael is one hell of a prospect. He's just had such a great year this year as well, and last year. He's just grown and grown and grown. And I think 2024 will definitely be presenting him with some sort of championship. If it's an African championship, probably looking at the IBF African Championship towards the end of 2024. But he's one of those kids that I just think keeps getting better and better. And it was heartbreaking. We're standing there and then I just, you just see a kid put so much in just to be let down. But I've always said this to my fighters, and particularly my young fighters, that when they start out in boxing, if they're not prepared to get the heart broken, don't do it, because boxing will test your character and it'll break your hearts. Like I said, the highs are the highs and the lows are the lows.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. And obviously, boxers can look forward to more fights next year. I think that's the honest message. I think that's just how it's going to work between yourself, Larry, and Riaz. You guys just keep things ticking over in the world of boxing, especially amongst the young prospects, and then giving a main event to one of the featured fighters, which is a good formula that you guys have going. At the end of the year, I always ask you, like, is anything new coming up, or is there any new signings? But you kind of jumped ahead and made the announcement for Kane Furey. We did an interview with that as well. That's obviously an exciting young talent that you have coming onto your books.
Yeah, I think the world of Kane. He's just all he's done is perform in his career. He started off with a win and then 2 shaky draws, which I think he won both fights, but it was still 2 draws. And then he just started growing and growing. And Ged's got big balls. He throws these guys in. They got, as he says, they got to fucking roll. And I think Kane proved that he can fucking roll, and he did really, really well. I'm just very excited about that, And also, like, another lightweight in my camp is Katlego Kanyisa. And I mean, ethically, they can't fight together because I've got an agreement with both guys. So it's just going to be interesting to steer them apart and go different routes. That's why there are different sanctioning bodies in the world. But again, like, Kane's a really, really special talent. And I think Katlego as well had a standout year this year. Really, really in a pick him kind of fight with Talent Beloy. It was a split decision, but I thought we won the fight clearly. But having said that, it's just interesting times. Caden Truth is going to be coming back. Tremendous prospect. He's been plagued by a lung infection towards the end of this year. And his brother's also ready to come back. So it's very, very exciting. Very, very excited for 2024. Very, very upbeat. It's also been a very good year for Boxing 5. If you think about the stagnation we've had due to the administration issues through I want to say the old board through Boxing South Africa, there's kind of, even though there's legal issues going on, there seems to be a breath of fresh air with new faces, new looks, young guys, and guys who seem to be on the straight and narrow that you can't twist their arm for a favor. So just looking very forward to that.
Yeah, as I said, I think everyone is just happy, and it seems like there's just a whole bunch of like jovial spirit going around let's say not necessarily the new board, but the exit of the old board, and I think think that's the move forward. I mean, the new board still has to prove themselves, with all due respect.
I mean, I don't know if you saw that show on Saturday when the ring announced the gentleman handing over the belt as the former chairperson of BSA. I mean, how embarrassing. I didn't even know why that guy was in the ring, really. I mean, just so not relevant. Anyway, it's just my personal opinion. Yes, I was watching. It's my job. I've got to see what's going on.
100%. All boxes are good, and I thought some standout performances.
Kafur was sensational. I mean, that left hook was just brilliant. Brilliant. Pity about the kid pulling his shoulder. Just one of those Manzana against Nike. That was turning out to be a really good fight. A really, really good fight. But it's just one of those things. He's been plagued by shoulder injury before, Manzana. So just a pity, one of those things. But it was a good fight card. I enjoyed watching it. I thought Williams was overmatched. He had his moments here and there by rocking Busako twice, but just not ready for that kind of fight. But it was a good fight card. I enjoyed watching it.
This has become a very common injury in South African boxing lately, pulling of shoulders. We've seen it with Sibusiso Singange. We've seen it with Lusanda Kombonisi. Is there a reason for that?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, all bizarre, and it seems to be happening quite a lot here in South African boxing, but that's a good question. I'm not sure. Hard one to say.
As well.
Sorry, pardon me?
Also, Timbani Mbangata is another one that had the shoulder injury as well.
Yeah, exactly. I did not see Gift Bolo beating Sibusiso Singange. That was a surprise for me. I'll be honest. That was a big, big surprise for me. But well done to him.
Good win for Gift Bolo. Puts him maybe in line for another shot at the SA title. And Corsi is now the SA champion. So obviously that sets up some nice matchups. Colin, just lastly, I don't want to go through the whole list of fighters because I know there's quite a big list of fighters, but we'll obviously discuss going into the new year what new opportunities are arising and new things are coming about. So I just wanted to say well done on this year. Obviously, it's been a good year. I think every year is a good year as long as the guys will keep winning.
Yeah, it's been challenging as well. I mean, we just to end off, we did our last Boxing 5 meeting for the year, and we're in a boardroom, and Larry was chairing the meeting, and he stood up. He said, "Yeah, it's been a good year, guys. Enjoy your breaks." So I looked at Leduma and I said, "Good year. This guy nearly fucking died on us." And Leduma looked up at me and he said to me, "Cole, relax." I'm like, I wasn't relaxed in Belfast. So, but by and large, we've been through a lot. I think all boxing people in South Africa have been through a lot. Administratively, with Leduma, just the frustration, fights being cancelled, or fighters having to reduce their fight purses. Just the shenanigans going on. I mean, I have to carry on about the awards. We want to know who is the event manager for 963,000 Rand. The AG report and the cell phone and telephone usages from 220,000 Rand to 550,000 Rand. Guys, what's going on? We want answers. And the next AG report, I suspect, is going to be even worse, So I'm going to keep asking those questions. Looking forward to meeting the Minister of Sport while I'm down here. We are scheduled to go for tea. And also looking forward to actually connecting with the acting CEO, Mandla, who's also down in Cape Town on holiday. And I've got one or two other boxing meetings that I've got to get through. But by and large, Hayden, this will be the last interview for 2023. It's been great. Thank you very much for all the coverage you do, not only for my fighters, but also for South African boxing. You're one of the unsung heroes. And just keep plugging away. And 2024 will be a much better year. Nomaganjani.
Nomaganjani, thank you very much. Viva, Colin. Thank you again for coming on and obviously discussing all your plans and being open to the platform and talking in depth about everything. Gives the audience a real clear message about what's to come for the boxers. And I think the boxers appreciate it too. I see them sharing a lot of the clips that yourself and the likes of Larry put on social media talking about them. So all the best for 2024. I think it's going to be another.
I think the biggest thing is that guys are tired of being bullshitted. They're tired of the lies and the crap that's being promised by people and said by people when they're not delivering jack. I think when we open our mouths, we deliver. And also one thing, I think most of my success is based on trust and transparency with my fighters. And that's going to continue. I'm not here to bullshit my athletes. They know when they're with me, I'm going to fight tooth and nail for them, get them the best opportunities. And inevitably, fighters want to hear that. They don't want to be bullshitted. Fighters have choices. We saw this now with Kane Fourie. He was also in negotiations with another promotional group. He came to us. We're straight up, we're transparent, and he signed an agreement, like I said, within 48 hours last week when we did our interview. So fighters now can see for themselves, and they can navigate for themselves on which route is best for them and their careers to take. So that's what I'm saying. 2024 is going to be an incredible year.
All right, fantastic. And yeah, as you said, this might be the last interview for the year. So I just wanted to say, just rest up if you can. I know that the phone never stops, but if you can rest up, try to do so. And we'll see you fresh for next year.
Viva. Take care, bro.